action, the other choice, than the one that was actually made, also was probably going to be better for those kinds of interactions and mass incarceration, et cetera, the kind of stuff that he professed was important to him. So the situation was better then. It appears worse now, and now's when he's choosing, well, I've done enough. I'm going to stand. But it seems to me, in fact, he thinks he can get a starting job in the NFL and doesn't want to rock the boat. Now, I realize that he's done a lot. He has done a lot. He's raised money, some of his own money, and that's real and that's serious, and kudos to Colin Kaepernick. But he's given me the impression of like a college sophomore who's read a book, and now that's what he knows about the subject and is really sure about it. And he gave me that impression at the time when I saw the Castro T-shirt and some other things, and now he's giving me the impression that, in fact, it's a bit opportunistic, that he made a stand or a sit or a kneel when he had nothing to lose, and now he has something to lose, and even though the situation is more dire, now doesn't want to rock the boat. And I hate to say that because I supported him early on in his protest, and I know he's raised money and done some good things, and maybe he is following his conscience, but that's not just what it appears to be to me at this moment.
Colin Kaepernick is looking at himself and saying, my career might be in jeopardy. I'm looking for a new contract and to prolong my NFL career. And this is a stance I need to change. It's incredibly opportunistic. It's flagrantly so. He's not fooling anybody this way. And I'll tell you something else, too. Rather than him talking about he would stand for the national anthem, I'd appreciate it if he went out and said, I'm going to vote next time. That would resonate far more profoundly with me. Him exercising an absolute privilege and the greatest proponent of change that we have in existence in the United States of America, going to the polls and exercising your right to vote. If he announced that that's what he was going to do, as opposed to standing for the national anthem, I would have far more respect for his position and what he has to say. But because he didn't vote, and because he's flip-flopped on the whole national anthem issue, and because of the timing of it all, as it appears to be flagrantly opportunistic, I'm not buying it one bit, and more importantly, I don't give a damn. I don't care if he stands or sits for the national anthem. It means nothing to me. What he needs to do is announce to the world and the young kids out there that he's going to exercise his right to vote. Quickly, Molly, I totally agree. I totally agree with that point, Stephen A. Especially when he essentially made the statement that that there was an equivalency between the candidates in the last general election, and in terms of the issues that were important to him, there was no difference. That was an idiotic position to take at the time. History has borne that out since then, and for him now to, after claiming that and not voting, instead of a very bad example, to now say his protest is over in that sense. It shows you that, I agree with your sentiment.
Gentlemen, and let me just add one thing in fairness, because we're not being totally fair here. And I was just as hard as Colin Kaepernick as you guys were with the Fidel Castro shirt and other moments that I found completely outrageous. He's still continuing to post and be socially active, whether it's Black History Month or now, Women's History Month. But he didn't say that he's going to stop being socially active or stop protesting. He's just not going to. He's not going to use that method because he found that it detracted from the message, and a lot of people agreed with that. You have to can you give him some credit from that he realized it's not working? So let me find a new method and try to right the ship and have a career.
I would like to
he didn't make that claim. He claimed it raised awareness sufficiently. He made the opposite claim. Go ahead.
Molly, with all due respect, I would appreciate it if you stop accusing me of being unfair. I am not being unfair to Colin Kaepernick. I am a black man, and I do not like the fact that this man said that he would not vote. That is where my focus lies. I am not being unfair to him. I am being incredibly fair. I'm being incredibly accurate, and I'm being
Maybe he's going to vote next time around, Stephen A.
Well, again,
maybe he changed in that regard, too.
I'm sorry, Molly. I did not say he was going to vote, or wasn't. What I said is, rather than him letting the world know that he's going to stand for the national anthem, I would have preferred that he let the world know that I'm going to vote. That doesn't mean he's not going to vote next go round. I'm saying that I would have preferred that was the announcement that we were talking about right now. I don't care whether he's going to stand for the national anthem or not. I care about him not exercising his right to vote. That's what I care about. That's what I would have preferred to be talking about.
No one who pays attention to the world, no one, would argue that at the time he made the protest, the issues that he was protesting were in more dire straits, that we were in more dire straits vis-a-vis those issues than we are today. And yet the protest was then. He's claiming it raised sufficient awareness that now he doesn't have to do it anymore. That's a hard claim to believe.
In my opinion, just because he's choosing to stand doesn't mean he's a sellout in that sense. But we have to leave it there because Stephen A. has final take, and he's reacting to the news that Joel Embiid is out for the season. Are Sixers fans wrong for trusting the process? Stay tuned for this.
You know, as I sit here thinking about this subject, thinking about what irritates me most. Some would believe that it's Phil Jackson and the New York Knicks, considering his flagrant ineptitude as president of basketball operations in the Mecca. But there's something else that grates my nerves more so than most other things today. And that is trust the process. That noise reverberating everywhere in the city of brotherly love, that would be Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Because they're talking about the 76ers and how the 76ers have upgraded, that they're better this year than they were in years past. So that justifies them throwing seasons at a time over a 3-year period. I remember when Michael Carter Williams was Rookie of the Year and they traded him. I remember former executive Sam Hinkie's refusal, probably at the behest of ownership, to even bring somebody of championship quality on a roster. I remember year after year after year, spanning 3 seasons, when they won 19, 18, and 10 games over that period, where the Philadelphia 76ers were losing seasons on purpose while still charging fans to come and watch them. And now all of a sudden, because they're respectable, we see an upside with Joel Embiid, assuming he can be healthy. We see Ben Simmons, assuming he can be healthy. And we fantasize about what they're going to be. Well, keep in mind, Joel Embiid missed 2 seasons. Ben Simmons missed this season. Nerlens Noel missed the full season. And Michael Carter Williams is a Rookie of the Year, and you moved him. Losing seasons on purpose, being inept on purpose, while charging fans to watch you is despicable. So it's nice to see that the 76ers are now trying to win games, and they've got basketball people making basketball decisions. But do me a favor. Take that trust the process lingo and go to hell with it, because I don't want to hear it anymore. It makes me sick, almost as much as the Cowboy fans do.
Stephen A., tell us how you really feel, and be sure to head over to Facebook and Twitter pages.
There may be a response to that in the final take next week.
Yeah? You got a little clapback for us,
Yeah.
Max? I love it. We'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks so much.
We're going to consider bringing on board, why isn't he here to be evaluated like anybody else? That is in the interest of fairness. I don't think it's about being fair to Joe Mixon. I think it's more flagrant about being about the hypocrisy of the NFL, who wants to come across as if they're making a decision when, in fact, they're really not. They're just coming across as flaming hypocrites. Make the call, bring him, allow him in, or don't. But don't dance around the issue like I believe they're doing.
And there's also a larger philosophical point here about American life. And, Will, you've discussed this in the past. What kind of behavior, or should someone be permanently disqualified, in this case, not only for employment, but for consideration for employment? It doesn't make sense to me that if he is allowed to play, that he wouldn't be brought in to be physically evaluated like everyone else. Now, once you have that physical evaluation, that will go into the mix with the evaluation of other components of Mixon, including his behavior at that restaurant. And when that's all put together, teams may well decide to pass. But it doesn't make, along the lines of your reasoning, Stephen A., to me, a lot of sense to permanently prohibit someone from employment or even consideration for employment. And then if you decide not to do that, simply not evaluate them in a certain category. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Oh, I think you guys have set up a false choice. I don't think our choices are either permanent ban or full embrace, or permanent ban or lack of full investigation. We can strike it down the middle here. And it's interesting, at the very least, to point out that we've had sort of a role reversal on some of our previous debates. Clearly, based upon prior debates, I think it would be entirely inappropriate to ban someone from the ability to earn employment at their special talents because of past indiscretions. I believe in second chances. I do think there's a threshold on that. I think when second turns into third and fourth and fifth and sixth, it expires at some point. But in the interest of nothing else, maybe simply morally, but even more reintegrating people into society, we want to give more chances. However, that doesn't mean we have to bend over backwards at every step to help them along the way. We don't have to accommodate. So in other words, you always hear the argument, this is a privilege. Playing in the NFL is a privilege. XYZ is a privilege. And some of that I take an issue with. I don't think employment is a privilege. I don't think pursuing your way as a productive member of society is a privilege. But I do think being invited to essentially what is a job fair is a privilege. Now, Stephen A., you point out, which I think is important, the Combine is a chance for serious investigation. Let's find out if Joe Mixon is a worthy individual, worthy of investment. Well, I would say to you, no NFL team is precluded from that. If they're really interested in Joe Mixon, they can go on their own to his pro day. They can go sit down with him personally. And in fact, any team that's really willing to weigh the pluses and minuses of Joe Mixon should show that level of investment. They should go meet with him. I don't think they should in any way think they should be disappointed, as the Lions GM said, that he's not there and made it easy for them. The point in the end is this. We can strike a middle course. It can be nuanced. It doesn't have to be you're all the way in or you're all the way out. Yes, Joe Mixon should be able to be an NFL player. But he didn't have to be invited to every job fair on his way to that employment.
Well, the way I disagree
No, but
with
his physical talent. Go ahead, Steve.
where I disagree with you, Will, is this. That, by what we heard from Bob Quinn, the Lions general manager, you're essentially hurting the teams, per se, for the actions of a Joe Mixon. Because, yes, like you just said, they could step out and evaluate him. But it would take extra work. It would take, and they should, and it would take extra work on their part. What they're saying is, why should we have to go through this? What are you trying to do to him? You either want him in the league or you don't. And if you do want him in the league, any prospective draft pick, Will, is invited to the NFL scouting combine. Why would you prohibit him from coming? That's the whole point.
Mixon's physical abilities.
It's what they do. It's not mixed. We're not asking for an exception here. It's what the NFL does. I would argue so why compromise
Mixon's physical abilities suggest he should be there. It is as you said, Will, a job fair. He is not being paid to be there. And in fact, it's an information gathering process. That it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Why exclude him from that when that information you gather there, which really makes it easier for the teams, will be put in the mix with other information, including his behavior in the restaurant, and teams may well pass after that.
Well, first of all, any team that's unwilling, who finds it too hard to go visit Joe Mixon personally, to invest in that level of investigation, probably shouldn't be drafting him anyway. So I don't buy this whole thing about it's hurting the team. I don't want a team that wants to casually run him through a combine interview to be the one that drafts him. If you want to take on Joe Mixon, show that you're willing to investigate fully what it is to draft Joe Mixon.
But you want them to devote more resources?
Yes.
You think because of his bad behavior, teams should devote more resources to checking him out?
Is he not a higher risk?
Why put the burden on the teams?
Is he not a higher risk?
Maybe, but why put the burden on the teams?
Because they're the ones that are going to be employing him. If you take on a higher risk, show the willingness to invest further.
You don't know if you want to. If he doesn't work out, he may not be worth it.
I disagree with you, Will, but I totally understand where you're coming from. You're saying if you want Joe Mixon, we're going to make you work harder in order to probe him, investigate him, and ultimately acquire him. We're not going to make it easier. I'm saying that's still wrong for the NFL to do because it reeks of hypocrisy.
They have a rule.
Yeah, Steve and I have a lot of issues with the NFL on this one in terms of the inconsistency, but I will save that for tomorrow. Coming up next, a member of Jerry Jones' own family is saying he's not trustworthy. We'll tell you exactly what they said. Plus, Colin Kaepernick was at the center of controversy last season as he decided not to stand up for the national anthem before games. What is he planning?
The other choice than the one that was actually made also was probably going to be better for those kinds of interactions and mass incarceration, et cetera, the kind of stuff that he professed was important to him. So the situation was better then. It appears worse now. And now's when he's choosing, well, I've done enough. I'm going to stand. But it seems to me, in fact, he thinks he can get a starting job in the NFL and doesn't want to rock the boat. Now, I realize that he's done a lot. He has done a lot. He's raised money, some of his own money, and that's real and that's serious, and kudos to Colin Kaepernick. But he's given me the impression of like a college sophomore who's read a book, and now that's what he knows about the subject and is really sure about it. And he gave me that impression at the time when I saw the Castro T-shirt and some other things, and now he's giving me the impression that, in fact, it's a bit opportunistic, that he made a stand or a sit or a kneel when he had nothing to lose, and now he has something to lose, and even though the situation is more dire, now doesn't want to rock the boat. And I hate to say that because I supported him early on in his protest, and I know he's raised money and done some good things, and maybe he is following his conscience, but that's not just what it appears to be to me at this moment.
Colin Kaepernick is looking at himself and saying, my career might be in jeopardy. I'm looking for a new contract and to prolong